Stories from the beauty parlor.
Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Stories from the Beauty Parlor.
Welcome, welcome to this very special Stories from the Beauty Parlor episode. This is an intimate journey around the world, one beauty parlor at a time. In the first episode, we visited Morocco, we visited Georgia, we visited Kosovo, and our next episode launching next week, we visit beauty parlors in Ukraine and Romania. This weekend, we are here at Podfest doing a very special live episode in our hood with one of the beauty icons of Berlin. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
So in every of our episodes, we talk to women who, they show up for other women, creating beauty in an increasingly ugly world. And you have been doing this for ages. And Charissa, for those who have been living under a rock, what is Isla Berlin, and what have you been up to the last? How long have you been doing it?
8 years, 8
8
plus,
years?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it went by really fast. So Isla started as basically a space, very undefined. I wanted to combine fashion, beauty, specifically nails, and events. And I basically just wanted to work for myself with like-minded people, women. Nails was always a big part of the idea. But as I don't do nails myself, I kind of built other elements around it. And also because I didn't want to create just a nail salon or just a beauty space. So Isla today looks very different than 8 years ago. Now I would describe it as an expressive beauty brand.
Cool. And I thought it was so badass when I read it that you wanted to create something equivalent of a skate shop, but for women and girls, because I think we all know, or at least when I was a teenager, I was a skater hang around, and it was sort of I felt so jealous of boys and these young men who had this place where they could test boundaries. It was all about their interests and self-expression and kind of just doing their thing, and there was really no such place for women where our interests were were the main act.
Exactly. No, that's exactly how I felt. And I was always into streetwear. I played football my whole life. I got into DJing 10 years ago, and all those spaces were so male-dominated. But I really loved the idea of those spaces and those hobbies. So I kind of just borrowed all those elements. And especially, specifically 10 years ago, retail, skate shops. It was just so cool to hang out at a skate shop, but I felt so unwelcome in a way. Not that anyone cared, but I think it was more me. It just didn't feel like a safe space. So I kind of wanted to create that hangout community experience in our shop.
Yeah, and was there some moment where you really felt I don't know, I want to create, do, and be with other women? Because it's kind of, as you said, you were in all these very male-dominated spaces. Was it something that made you?
I don't think there was one moment. I've just been like that my whole life. I've always really rooted for other women and even before it was, not to say that it's cool now, but it's way more accepted to talk about equality or to feminism is way more common to even address or talk about these days. But I remember from being really little, I was always, even at family birthdays, I was so loud about equality, intersectionally, so for women, but also minorities. I just had a very strong compass for what was right or wrong, or in my experience. And it was never really, now I'm going to do something for women. It was just, I want to do something that I think is cool for me and my friends.
Well, it worked out. But now working in a very, very, women-dominated space, what do you think are like the biggest? Is there any prejudice around working and doing things mainly for women? I'm not saying it's only, but it's still centered. It's like women-centric.
You know what? I don't really think about it that much. I'm sure there are, and even when I talk about what I do to men, I'm sure there are, but I'm so focused on what we do that I don't really care. I'm sure there is. I'm sure people like look down upon like a beauty brand versus a tech company, but for me, it's just doing what I like to do and working with who I want to work with, and that's really all I care about.
That's where we all want to end up, right? And another thing that I think is so cool with your founding journey is like that you didn't do nails yourself. Like you just started like with a vision and kind of an energy, and you just learned on the way. And I think that's so inspirational, because I think especially not only among women, but among a lot of women, it's like this, like, oh, I need to have everything in order. Like, I need to have this grand plan and everything. I need to kind of have taken all these courses and know my shit. And it's so much about just learning while doing, right?
Yeah. I think being an entrepreneur, you just need to start and perfect it along the way. And I've been very lucky my whole life to be super delulu. From young, like where I grew up, people did not start their own businesses. People did not travel. People did not even move outside of the cities where I'm from. I'm from a smaller town, a little bit outside of Amsterdam. People didn't even study, really. It was very like worker class society. And I was so young when I told my mom, I'm going to travel by myself for 6 months. And I was just so confident from very young. I don't really know where I got that from. Even my mom was not always trying to humble me, but kind of like, hey, where do you get those crazy ideas from? So yeah, luckily in the workplace or even with being an entrepreneur, I've never really questioned myself. I just kind of did it.
But did you have was it role models, or was it just like this inner drive that you can kind of tap? Because role models are important, but some people, they just move by themselves.
I think a bit of both. I think from the age of, as long as I can remember, till I think 14, 15. So like I said, my family and my surroundings, I didn't really have role models. The women in my family, for example, didn't really work. If they worked, they were like hairdressers or like the typical kind of worker class jobs. It wasn't very, they weren't very career driven or ambitious in that sense. But I always had this feeling that I wanted to work for myself. I wanted to travel. I wanted to live abroad. And I think when I was 15, I got my first serious boyfriend, and that lasted for a long time. And he came from a very kind of upper class, a lot of entrepreneurs in his parents' friend group, and this is where I found my first role models. So I met these amazing women that had their own businesses, that were very career focused, were doing really well for themselves, and I think they were my first like super powerful women in fashion, and they were my first role models. So I was like, shit, if they can do it, there's a whole world, this is possible. So it's a bit of both.
Yeah, but I'm not sure how if people who are here know about the scale of your success with both Isla Berlin and all the next endeavors, and like this whole community of women doing a lot of creative shit together, if it's like music, if it's like a lot of different creative expressions, like also like fashion and stuff. You really created this really tight-knit and nurturing community of women in Berlin that has been trailblazing not only nails and beauty, but just set up this whole infrastructure almost. But you've been taking some quite radical decisions, both from like a business perspective, but also, I don't know, life perspective, since you, at sort of like the height of Isla being super famous, working with all these big brands, and you decided to close the shop. And I think that's so interesting and cool. And you told me that actually the physical space and the shop became your creative prison. Like, tell us more about that.
Yeah, I think running a place or physical space takes up so much time, money, and effort. And there were loads of reasons why I came to that conclusion. But I think the moment I realized that I was reminiscing something that it used to be, we had become this kind of factory, nail factory, like working 10 hours a day, creating nails back to back. And when we started, it was literally one nail tech that I relocated from London. I convinced her to move to Berlin because there was no one doing nails here, like how I envisioned it. So she moved here, built a team with me. It was literally just me and her sitting in a salon, which you can imagine was a very different dynamic. And my friends came through to DJ because, like I said, I didn't do nails, and I invested in a nice DJ setup because DJing was a hobby of mine, and I realized the equipment was very inaccessible for women. Like, I had access because of a boyfriend I had that took me to those clubs and those promoters, which is not common. And look, those spaces you have today, like pirate studios, that didn't exist back then. So I invested in CDJs. So it was literally just me working on my laptop, Maddie, our first nail tech, doing nails, some DJs coming through to practice, and that kind of intimate hangout, that cool space. It just kind of wasn't there anymore after 6-7 years. It was just, we suddenly had 6 nail techs doing nails back to back. It had become kind of a machine, and it just wasn't. Also, it's really hard to deal with neighbors in Berlin. Like, every time we moved to Mitte, it was already complicated in our first space, but then when we moved to Mitte on Linienstrasse, our neighbor completely lost it, and it was really hard to even like play like music like normal.
Oh my God.
So you can imagine there was just so much that we were kind of holding on to, and that we didn't really do that anymore. My friends are all, we're in our 30s now. When I started, I was 27. My friends, some have got kids and careers, and we weren't really hanging out the way we used to in the space. And then on top of that, I felt like we needed to renovate and we needed to keep up with the trends. And because that's another thing, when we started 8 years ago, DIY, like, we looked very sleek compared to the rest, because Berlin was just super DIY at the time. But now we have all these amazing stores and big brands that have invested in cool spaces. So you kind of need to keep up with those trends and those aesthetics. So for me to keep up, that meant I had to invest at least 100K in this space. And then my friend, who's also a mentor, she was like, but do you really need a physical space? And that was such a weird question at first, because obviously we do nails. We do need to do nails in real life. But that was right after I also launched press-ons. I'm sure we'll talk more about that later.
What is press-ons for those who are not into nail culture?
So press-ons are the nails that you can glue on yourself, and they've been around for a long time. They just haven't really been around in a cool way or in a trendy way. So we came up with like really amazing designs and good shapes for people to glue them on themselves if they don't have a nail salon in their city, or if they don't have money to go to the nail salon every 3 weeks. They don't have time. Like, for me, time is a really important. Like, this was done 10 minutes before I came here. It's like ideal.
Wow. Oh wow!
So it's So
this is like mom.
Exactly, mom hack.
Mom nails.
So yeah, I had to invest because the space wasn't just up to brand anymore. And before putting down that money, I was like, my friend or my mentor was like, "Do you really need that?" And that was such a weird question, but. And anyone else, I would have immediately kind of shut it down. But because she's such a good sparring partner and mentor, I kind of sat with that question, and I kind of came to the conclusion, no, actually, the store is kind of holding us back. If I want to scale, like, this kind of coolness of one shop is very hard to scale. I've tried to bring it to other cities, or I've done pop-ups, and then every time I was traveling for the brand, I could feel that the local or in Berlin things, like the staff, for example, was getting a bit demotivated, or because I wasn't there. Like, even though I'd never intended it to be about me, it's somehow kind of, I was the driver for sure. And that's just a very difficult model to scale and also I'm getting older. I don't really want to be hanging out at a store anymore. It's like, and also I don't have the time for it. So
But also from a creative perspective, it's I also have a coach who also told me something, because I also left a very successful, still up and running NGO with like huge budgets and all the structures on in place, and I just took the leap to do it all from scratch again, which is like insanity, from an economic perspective. But it's just like, if you're a creator, like you have to throw yourself out there again to kind of also keep the spirit alive and yourself alive.
Yeah.
And she also told me this thing, like with like you need to keep growing with, like, you went from being a big fish in a small pond to become like a small fish in a big pond. And that's like one of the most important kind of juices to keep your creativity flowing. And it sounds like you did the same thing.
100%. No, I love to always kind of basically what you just said, but I started going to London every other week. I have a child. I separated from his father, and after the separation, I only had my child every other week for a week. And I started going to London every other week for that reason, because here I just kind of knew my people. I got like access to everything and everyone, and I just kind of didn't really feel challenged anymore. So I started going to London and surround myself with people that are doing way bigger things and way more interesting things, and multiple businesses, because here it's also which is also the charm about Berlin, but a lot of people are not as ambitious in this city. Partying is very important to a lot of people, and I just wanted to surround myself also with people that are doing way more than myself, and that don't know what I'm doing, and that don't know my brand, and that,
it's very liberating.
Very, very, very. And also very inspiring. I think that's really what fuels me. And and I think being here and having this store just kind of kept me like fixing windows, and that's not what I want to be doing. Like landlords. And, it's just not. It's not what I'm good at either. It's like that's not my passion. It's not my. It took a lot of energy and a lot of. It was just kind of holding me back.
But and also those who've been following your journey, they also know you have quite some like capitalism criticism in you. With you're doing a lot of collaborations with the big brands and stuff like that. But you also took other kind of drastic creative decisions with stop. Selling smaller scale brands in your shop, because you kind of felt like, this whole retail thing actually is, it's contributing to overconsumption, and also how bigger brands are sort of picking up on young creative creators and just kind of exploit them and stuff. How do you balance the kind of being a business owner, needing and wanting to be creative, and also, you need the black numbers?
I mean, listen, we need to make money. I do like to make money. Let's not pretend that I'm against making money, but I do try to do it in the most authentic and fair way possible. I think a good example is when we started, people thought we were so expensive for a nail place, because we just paid our people fairly, like small things like that. I'm really all for making money, and I like to live a nice life. But I just try to be aware and as fair as possible where I can. Yeah, it's difficult, but I think the whole fashion aspect, why I stopped retail. So we started off with retail in the front and the nail salon in the back. And I just didn't feel like I had I just don't believe in seasons and drops, and I just didn't feel like I had the vision to change this or to contribute in a way, even though we worked with like all small independent brands and female owned, and I just didn't feel, I really want to just do what feels good. And that's also why I started working for myself, because I just want to have fun. Like my work never feels like work.
Okay, but then I have another question for you, because being a business owner, being a female business owner in Germany today, 2025, how is that? I mean, the country is still, I mean, you're also an immigrant, like you're originally from Holland. Germany is still a very patriarchal place. There's an insane like recession. There is like anti-migrant discourse deluxe, and a lot of like a complete ignorance about the contributions that migrants and people, newcomers to Berlin, wherever in whatever shape or form they arrived, are kind of contributing to this innovation, to the business stuff. Like, how are you maneuvering through this, and does it feel different this time, or?
I think for anyone, woman, man, running a business in Germany or living in Germany is just bureaucratically very complicated. And not just for immigrants either. I speak to so many people, even sometimes my accountant doesn't understand the rules or the papers it's so complicated, and I just don't understand why it seems like things aren't changing either. So to be completely transparent with you, I want to scale the business. That's also why I closed the store. And my next move will be to take my business somewhere else. And I will have like an operating GmbH here. I'll keep that. But like really scaling the business and taking it global, I won't do from Germany, because I tried for 8 years, and I don't want to say I failed, but I really tried. I really, really tried. And it's so complicated. And then on top of that, like, I think the sexism you'll find everywhere. And I've just kind of stopped trying to prove myself. And I have this friend who is 67, and he's Indonesian Dutch man that I met right before I set up my business, and he's helped me a lot, like a mentor again. I just bring him to my meetings, which is pathetic, but I just take him. I have 2 GmbHs on my name, but still they want him to sign the contract as my backup, and I'm like, sure, if you want that. I'm not even going to fight it anymore.
Yeah, I made some notes actually on this, because it is insane. So there's some really interesting statistics from last year about funding, immigration, and female funding. So, like, for those who don't know, Germany has a very, very bleak funding rate, or like self-employment, entrepreneurship rate, also compared to neighboring countries. So where you're from, Holland, they have 19% self-employment. Germany has 8. Yeah, Poland has 16. Yeah, so 8. And that group has shrunk with almost 1 million the last decade. So people are really like getting less risk, taking much less risks. But there is not only one group that breaks this pattern, there are several ones. So the first group that breaks this pattern with the 8% are immigrants. So, and the percentage of founders with an immigrant background has increased to 24%, with 24% since 2011. But there's one group that stands out even more. Yeah, guess. Women. It has grown with 83%. And that this is, yeah. And
nice.
And like female entrepreneurs like you and everyone else who are doing this are a huge job motor and an innovator motor for the German economy and innovation. And it's like, when I heard this number, I was like at this fancy conference, I was like, how can I have not heard about this? Why is this not talked about? Like the like immigrants as this job motor, entrepreneurs, but also the women. What do you think when you hear this?
A lot of different things, a lot of different thoughts. But I think culturally, it makes so much sense, because from the few German friends that I have, they're so risk averse, and starting your business is always going to be a big risk. So I think on one hand, it's the bureaucracy and how complicated it is, but it's also something culturally. I think it's so common to just, even when I moved here for a job at a corporate, and even in those meeting rooms, people wanted to like have everything figured out before they would make a decision. And it was so different from when I worked back in Amsterdam, where it was just like, well, we'll just do it and we'll see after, you know? It's like this kind of American mindset versus like the German rigidness, and so it's on one hand it's being made so complicated, like paperwork wise, but then I think it's also a cultural kind of mindset thing.
I'm gonna drop some more numbers here, because the industry that you are in, the beauty industry, it's currently worth $690 billion yearly. Like, it's a complete insane number, but I don't think that people, like, we understand how much money that is, because if you compare, for instance, like with the music industry, it's 28.6 billion, arts 58.7, sports 52, beauty 690 billion. Like, it's insane. And still, there's also, there's, from after I started Stories from the Beauty Parlor, I can really tell that there's still a lot of like prejudice around, like, this is something beauty, something like, and then like when you actually see the numbers and also see the impact of what this, the worth of this industry.
I think for me it's always funny when I in the beginning I used to talk to investors and see how I could scale the business and kind of trying to find my next steps. And every single one of them, especially here, they would ask, but what's your tech angle? It's like, wait, I have a beauty brand. Like, what do you mean? And then there was this woman that even was like, let's just come up, let's just fluff something and then at least get the cash and then you do your thing and then we'll figure the tech angle out later. And I was like...
So they needed a dude angle. That's literally what they said. They needed a dude
I
angle.
never thought about it like that. But yeah, it's like, no, but it needs a tech angle. Like, I'm not sure
the
about
690 billion, that was just not enough. They just needed to sprinkle it with some like dude stuff on top. So like during your journey, you also worked in quite like normal corporations and traditional companies. What was your experience there in comparison to now being self-employed, doing your own thing?
Oh, so many. I think working there has taught me what I don't want and how I just want to work with people that get it. Or not get it, that is maybe the wrong way to say it, that are like-minded women. Like, I don't have to fight for my ideas anymore. Like, back in the day, I run like a influencer marketing department at Zalando, so it's a huge company, and I would always have to water down my ideas because the people didn't get it. You see people in the offices trying to reach an audience, but they don't even really understand their audience. Everyone I work with, we understand who we're doing this for. And that's also how I select the people I work with. I don't care about your university degree, or I don't care about your diplomas. I care about you, your hobbies, your interests, anything else I can teach you. If you understand who we're trying to reach, that is super valuable for me. And that's usually how I pick the people.
Cool. And during this journey, how have your relationship to your womanhood or femininity changed? Because you talked about this football girl and like hang out in skater shops and now working in a very traditional female space. What's your...
I think it's not necessarily working in the beauty space. I think it's more life, a lot of therapy, becoming a mom. When I started, I had a lot of... I think Isla was a way to prove myself in a way. I sometimes joke that the more healed I become, the less ambitious as well. Because before I had such a drive to prove everyone wrong and to show that I could do this thing. And I think I used to very much compete with men a lot. I felt like, I was like, we're the same, we're equal, we should, but actually we're not. We're equal, but we're not the same. We're very much different species. And I have kind of let go of that wanting to be like the same or like achieve the same or... And I think becoming a mom has really helped me with that. It's like, it's actually okay to be, I can create life. Like, no man can do that, you know?
Yeah.
so it's just like embracing that femininity. Even the way I look today, like I used to always hide myself in baggy clothes and way more tomboyish, which is also a problematic term, but you know what I mean. But yeah, I've really learned to embrace just being more feminine. Yeah.
Yeah, I think motherhood really, it maybe not for everyone, but for me, it really grounded me so much, like in myself and like in the actual physical earth, in a way that I was 39, so I was very, like, yeah, not super young. So maybe it's different if you get a child earlier, but it's like, I don't give a fuck any longer with so much things that was super important for me earlier. And it's such a relief if you've been somebody that's just been, I don't know, just pushing. I was like pushing, like always the next thing. And it doesn't slow you down. Like, of course, every experience is different, but I have not slowed down. I just do things differently, and with a lot of more, I would say, grace, and not this like hustle energy. Of course, you have to hustle a little bit still, but yeah. And I think, like, if you connect it back to beauty, I know this is also different for everyone, but like, I used to have a lot of like neuroses about my looks and, you know, stuff earlier. And that also kind of disappeared with becoming a mom. Like, I still buy my, you know, skincare for a couple of €100 per year. And I do my microneedling. That hasn't changed. But it's like, it's like for pleasure, not for like, from neurosis. And yeah.
I really remember this. This was literally one moment. I had a shoot and I was always so conscious. Even the beginning years of Isla, I would not be in front of the camera ever. Like, I just wanted to build a brand and I had to be about the community and about the other women. And I was always in the background. And then one time I got asked for a shoot, like a big campaign, out-of-home campaign for a brand. And I remember I was a few weeks pregnant, so I wasn't able to tell anyone yet, or I decided not to. And I was on set and the woman was taking pictures of me, and I was sick, feeling horrible. I was like, well, who fucking cares what I look like? I'm growing a whole human being inside of me. Like, who cares? Like, I was so insecure about my looks before. And then from that moment, I was like, yeah, well, it is what it is. What am I going to change about my looks? Nothing. This is what I look like. And I've been given this able body, which I'm very grateful. I can create a life with it. I'm not going to, you know, a wrinkle or like whatever bad angle, I'm not going to care about it anymore. And from that moment, it really, of course, sometimes you look at pictures and you're like, oh, not my best angle, but it really has changed so much.
Yeah. And I think maybe that's also why it's like there's such a strong urge from like patriarchy to diminish and undervalue motherhood, because it's threatening in that sense that it really makes women not give a fuck, and make them, not so insecure as before. But talking about that, you have a gorgeous son, Ace. He's 5, right?
5, yeah.
And so we, you know, in the discourse today, we talk a lot about raising feminist daughters. I don't think we talk enough about raising feminist sons. And how is it? How? What's your thoughts around that? And like, how do you think about that? And how do you live it?
Honestly, it's a constant thought, especially because I am so aware of like the systems. And so the other day he was DJing or fake DJing, and he was like, "I'll throw my own parties because you won't book me. You only book girls." And I was like, "Oh shit, that's also not what I want to create." But no, I think he's very. I try to just really like install it in him, but without like making him feel bad about himself. Because actually, a male friend of mine was like, "You have to be a bit careful because you're so like." Not bashing men, but sometimes you can be a bit critical of men in front of him, but you also don't want him to get like self-hate or feel confused about his own gender. But luckily his father is also doing a great job, so he's 50-50, and I think for boys that's also super important to have your father figure around. So No, yeah, it's a constant. It's constantly on my mind. Yeah.
And he's also been hanging out at the.
He
at
loves
Isla.
it. He's got his. From young, would get his nails done, and he loves it. He really misses the store not being there anymore. We walk past the store because I live behind the old store, and he really wants to like stare inside, and he really misses it. It was really his thing to hang out at Isla. Yeah.
Cool. And I mean, mom guilt, is that a thing in your life?
Not really.
No.
Not really. I'm really blessed. No, not really. Because I really believe if I'm happy and if I get to do my thing, I show up as a better mom, you know? So from very young, when he was 2, we separated. I had to miss him every other week for a week. And of course, in the beginning, that was my worst nightmare. Like a couple of months, I really had to work through that. And then I realized, actually, this is my biggest blessing. I wish this for every mom. To get a week off every other week is honestly the best. And he's so used to it because he's done it from young. He doesn't even remember otherwise. Again, not every co-parent, not every father is capable or like showing up the way his father shows up. But when he's there, I also don't have to think about him. Like, of course, we call but I don't have to worry. So I make sure to plan most of my activities in the weeks that I have off.
It's one of your weeks now.
It's one of those weeks now. Great. Yeah, and I really I think I'm such a patient mom in the week that he's with me. I never get irritated. I never get tired of him because I know it's only this. Of course, I get tired, but then I just check myself. It's like, he's going to go to his dad again on Monday. You know, I can do this. I got this. So...
Oh,
yeah.
Such a chill mom.
Honestly, it's. I think co-parenting 50-50, the one.
You're not the first friend of mine who says this. Yeah, I mean, when I meet other fellow female founders, activists, creative, yeah.
I just want to add one thing to that.
Yeah.
And I think it's also so important for him to see me doing everything I do. And I think that's you can teach them whatever you want, but they need to see it. And I think him seeing me running everything I do, all those projects, and I think that is also installing, like, he won't look at women differently because his own mom, you know, done everything. You know what I mean? So it's...
And seeing your mom happy.
Exactly. Also,
seeing your mom like vibing through life. I think that's also a super important thing. And actually, coming back to that, I mean, we also worked quite hard, like with taking all these risks, setting up your own creative endeavors, founding and stuff that comes to very, very high price with, you know, sometimes with the stress and the bureaucracy and stuff. But when I see my fellow friends who have like 9 to 5s,
oh my gosh, no.
like in like corporate jobs, and you know, like I really get why they are depressed and so stressed out.
But also, I wonder how they do it. Because,
no, I don't understand.
Because when your kid is sick, when you have to go to the doctor, like, they have to ask for permission to leave. You know, I can work whenever the hell I want. Like, and that's my best. Like, I probably would have made more money by now if I stayed in my corporate jobs, because I started working really young and I had a really good job from young. Probably by now I could have made a bit more money, but the time and the flexibility is priceless. Like, to be able to work whenever and wherever I want.
Mm. But yeah, so we have taken a lot of risks and built a lot of things to be able to live this life at this point. But we are living through very turbulent times with climate change, AI, wars, genocides, like right-wing pushes, like it's insane. So I think, and we live also like in a very risk-averse country. And I think and especially among like young people, there's a feeling of like, oh my God, I need to take the safe route. The future looks so insecure or bleak. What would be your advice to like young creatives or young people who want to go their own way in this new ugly world that we're kind of entering?
Depressing, right? Oof. Honestly, yeah, just it's so lame, but just kind of believe in yourself and just do it and find your people, find your way, find your community. I think for me, finding the right people in this city has helped me so much. But times are changing so fast, so I don't know what I would tell Ace because it's too far away, but people that are now starting their career, I would say just do it. Just kind of believe in yourself, be delusional, and just...
AI can't do nails.
No, exactly. No, but I'm not so afraid of AI. I know we should be, but I think the human aspect is what, like the emotional and the human, they can't copy that. They can't, so...
And this is also with this type of like carrying the beauty parlor spaces. It's a place of care, right? It's
exactly. I think when those machines came out where you could put in your hand, everyone was like, "Your job is going to be." It's like people come to us for way more than just their nails. Like when I hired someone, I always looked at 3 elements. Can they do nails? Was one. Was their aesthetic or style in line with our audience? But then also, are they social? Could they uphold a conversation? Most of the people that come to us, they also come to us as almost like therapy. They talk about their dates, they talk about work, they talk about... It's so much more than just sitting there and getting your nails done.
And I think that it's so telling that in a lot of culture and communities, like... I mean, you created something very special with Isla that is maybe not like super mainstream in the German context, but in so many communities and in so many countries, the beauty space is a safe space. It's a space for connection and like actually for like therapy,
especially black and brown cultures. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the barber shop and when we've been doing this podcast and with the first episodes around the globe, like it have really like opened my mind and saw that this is also for women globally. And I think it's very telling, for instance, like when the Taliban retook power in Afghanistan, the first thing that they did was to close the beauty parlor spaces because they knew it was a space where women came together with other women, and that has a radical potential. Like strip it from all the nail polish and like hair and whatever. Like women coming together, talking, also earning money. It's a huge source of like employment globally. Like women can like feed their families in also very very conservative communities globally because like you only work with other women. So it also has like a very radical like heart of it.
Yeah. No, and I think that's how people always would describe Isla, people that have been part of the community or people that have worked for us, that it's such an empowering place and such a safe space. I've received literally love letters from people that have worked for us or with us where this one specific example where she wrote like how she really found herself and her identity. She made so many friends and her next job kind of came through a contact. So it's such an empowering, it was so much more than just a salon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I know, and talking about therapy, talking about nail therapy, I also know that you've done normal therapy, and that's been a very kind of important part of your journey.
Life-changing.
Life-changing, both, I mean, with life, but also with the business. Like, what's your biggest learnings that you have done in therapy? And was there something that made you start it? Because I was way too late.
Yeah, same.
Way too late.
So I had a very traumatic growing up situation. I haven't seen, my father was very abusive. I haven't seen him since I was 11. And doctors and what is it called, like youth
counselors?
Yeah, they basically kind of stepped in and they told us we should go to therapy, and I was like, I'm not crazy, I don't want to go to therapy. And it was just not common in our kind of in my family or in our environment to go to therapy. So I didn't really do that until I divorced from my child's father and kind of my whole world collapsed, and I thought I went because of divorce, but then I realized there was so much more. How that usually goes, and I was like, yeah, maybe I have some daddy issues, but there was so much more. There was so much more to unpack, and I was completely detached from my feelings and my emotions. So I think I learned so much about myself, but I think the main thing was to kind of learn to feel and be in touch with feelings and emotions, because I had completely shut that off.
Yeah, I think it's a very common
mechanism.
Yeah, and I think it's very common among, creatives, founders, activists, that has this sort of messy, challenging upbringing that makes you so resilient that you can also go through all of this challenges that are also thrown at you in this process. I also come from a very messy family background. Like my mom is bipolar. She was in hospital several times per year. So that made me so I can do anything. But also sometimes completely detached from this is really fucking hard. I'm allowed to take a break, and always needing to be this strong person. And I think, if you're in some sort of caring, care professions, I think actually nails and beauty is, you kind of become this person that are always, there for others, but not really for yourself. It's also quite a common trait.
People pleaser, and I had to learn that all the hard way, but I think I'm on a good way. I feel way more healed now.
And so. Yeah, I think it's a good. We can end with the last question. That is what advice would you give to your younger kind of self, always in survival mode, or always pushing forward?
Start therapy sooner.
How old were you
when I started therapy? 32.
32.
Yeah, 2 years after I had AIDS. Yeah. Now just continue to believe in yourself and continue to be delusional, and dream bigger, even bigger. No, honestly, those things that I envisioned for myself, they were not normal. They were not, whatever is normal, but they were not common. They were not, I've been humbled a lot. People would tell me, come on, why are you, who do you think you are? But I think now I would even tell my younger self to dream even bigger. I think a lot of it, even with Isla, could have been way bigger already if I think I had a lot of limiting beliefs and I was very humble and careful. But dream even bigger, I would tell her.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for
That's a
having
wonderful
me.
last words.
Thank you.
And continue creating beauty in an increasingly ugly world. That would be my last famous word for tonight. And thank you so much for being with us in this special live podcast. And listen next week. We're dropping our Ukraine podcast, and follow us on all the platforms. And we see you soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
That went by so fast.